بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
So the first thing we'll try to start with our session where we'll try to understand what are the things we need to plan in order to grow your career. Especially, it's very important to do many things if you are planning for a career growth. Okay, so in that, before we get into the planning part, we need to understand the different roles and everything. So probably we'll be starting with first understanding the different networking roles or the network security roles what we get into, and then we'll slowly progress on the different things. Okay, so let's get started with this. Now, coming back to the different networking rules, when it comes to network and security or relevant to the Cisco or any other vendors, you will be falling in any of these categories. So if you categorize that, the first category will be like network engineer, or the second category will be your network security engineer, or if you are into IT infrastructure management, then you might be falling in any of these categories like network administrator, system administrator, and the cloud administrator relevant. And apart from that, if you are moving on to the any specializations, you might be falling in any of these categories. Okay, so to start with, network engineering roles. Now, again, in terms of network engineer, now who are network engineers? Generally, the network support engineers or the network engineers are responsible for managing the network. The main role will be managing the network like routers and the switches, LAN and WAN part, including any other devices like end devices, or it can be some part of the firewalls and the VPNs, and there are many things included in that. So I'm not getting into the individual roles in detail. Again, if you look out for any kind of job description on the portals, you'll find a specific job profile you will see. Now, whatever the job description or the job profile suggests, you will be falling in that category, and accordingly you need to have the skill set. Okay, so I'm just giving you a basic overview here because our focus is not understanding the roles. Like the network engineer, you will have a level one, basically the 0 to 1 years of experience. Okay, and your job is to do most of the basic troubleshooting or the monitoring the network or verifying some connectivity status, those kind of things. So mostly kind of a fresher who wants to get into a network role or a network engineering role, you will start with the network engineering level one. And mostly the basic skills, you will have some kind of CCNA level skills with the routing and switching. Additionally, you might have other technical skill set like maybe some kind of server knowledge or some other virtualization knowledge. That those are just an added skill set. Or you might also have some CCNP level skills, but considering you don't have any experience, you will be falling in this category. Now, once you gain some experience, you will be automatically fall into the next category called level two engineers, where the network engineer will be having around 2 to 4 years of experience. Again, doing the same thing, majorly doing additional configuration and the management, which means you are not just troubleshooting or monitoring, you are also doing management, which means making the changes in the network uh, as per the design configurations given to you, verifying them, testing them, many things. So majority of the CCNP level skills comes under this category. What are the skill set required? Again, at least the CCNP level skills with some additional skill set you need to keep on adding. Okay. And a third category, again, you have a senior network engineer called as a level 3 engineer, where you have more than 5+ years of experience. And again, you will be responsible for dealing with most complex designs, especially the complex designs or designing the network apart from managing the network, including some advanced technologies like MPLS, SD-WAN, or automation. Many things. You actually know many things. Okay, so and then you will be having at least CCNP to CCI level certification or the knowledge with some additional skill set or automation tools considering today's network requirements or SD-WAN implementations or SDN implementations. There are many things you need to add, including the firewall knowledge. Again, I'm not ruling out the other skill set like the firewalls or the load balancers or many other things also includes in that. So the major skills will be on the network side, and the other skills will be more kind of an add-on skill set what you actually possess. Okay, so most of the network engineers or the network security engineers generally start at this level and they move on. So depending upon which role you exactly fit in, you need to know your skill set. That is very important because there might be a cases where someone is working as a level 2 engineer for more than 5 plus years, and if you want to get into the next level, that is a level 3 engineer, obviously you need to have a core skill set required for that. Okay, because you might be working for more than 5 years, but you don't have enough skill set required at the L3 level. It's not possible for you to move on to the L3 level within the same company or on a different organizations. Now, similar way, we also have a security role. So if you're working on a network security side, or if you're planning on a network security side, and these are the different roles. Like you have a firewall administrator, and there's level two, again the level two and the level three here. The same thing. The difference will not change much, but the only difference is the experience range will be the same for the network engineers or the firewall engineers. Now, if you are mostly a fresher, you will be considered as a firewall administrator, where you generally do the basic monitoring, logs or basic rule changes. Mostly, you do work under the supervision of your seniors, and you will be generating some reports or documentations. Mostly, you will be assisting the level two engineers. In simple words, we can say. Okay. So, what are the skill set required? You need to have a firewall knowledge. You might be working on any either a FortiGate or Palo Alto or ASA or FTD, whatever the firewalls running in your network or whatever your clients running those firewalls, you will be into that profile. Okay, so that is where you exactly land in. So now the again you have a level two in this. Now the level two where you gain some more experience. Now you have a good understanding of that, and you will be mostly responsible for doing most of the configurations. So configuration and the management, VPNs, handling other security devices like IPS, IDS, or VPNs, many things. Again, here, mostly the devices which you work is firewalls. Now, firewall can be any vendor. Okay, so I'm not categorizing. It depends on the what vendor, what different firewalls you have in your production network. Now, again, getting into the senior level, senior engineer mostly have some 5 plus years of experience where you specially responsible for designing the network and working on the core security skills like where you will be dealing with some advanced threat detection management, and also you will be having some more idea on the cyber security side where you also have an experience on it, or maybe a CCI level engineer or working for more than 5 years. Okay, and additionally, on the top of it, you will be adding some cybersecurity skills as well, which is something you will be adding on as you move on with your experience and the knowledge. So this is the second one, network security roles. Now, the other roles you will also find. Now, there is no specific role. I'll just come to the individual roles, how it will be. And the other type of role you will also find something called IT infrastructure. Now, the IT infrastructure is more managing the infrastructure, like you're managing your end devices, managing your servers, managing the storage devices. Basically, you run everything on the VM, managing the virtual platforms like the VMware or whatever the platforms and the cloud platforms. This all comes under that. Okay, so typically you have a dedicated role like desktop support. We are not getting into desktop support role because the desktop support role is more on the desktop side. You don't do much on the networking side. But when you start with the system or the network administrator, where you will be managing the servers, the virtual machines, and making sure that you do the backup, you make sure that your servers are running up and running all the time. Now, majority of the skill set required is having some cloud platforms like AWS, not exactly. You will have a cloud administrator here, but majorly you'll be doing managing the Microsoft servers like Microsoft Azure or Microsoft servers, because or maybe some Linux servers, managing that, and also having some VMware skills where you are managing the virtualization and those things. Okay. And you don't do much on the networking side. You do have the basic knowledge of the networking, like you may have a CCNA skills, but you don't really work on the network side, more on the administration side, system administration. And then the other common role you will find, maybe the next level, you can say, like once you are a system administrator, now you can advance your career into the cloud administrator, where you will be responsible for managing the cloud platforms, because majority of the network setups moves on the cloud side or the applications. Now you should know how to do that, whether on the AWS platform or the Microsoft Azure platforms. Now, again, the firewall roles are more similar to the network security roles, which we discussed already, similar to that one. Not much different. It's a kind of a dedicated security firewall role. I think it's the same thing. There's no much difference. Now, coming back, there might be some special roles you will find based on the Cisco specific, like a network administrator role you will find, where you manage the routers, switches, firewalls, and manage the wireless networks, access points. It's like a merged kind of a profile where you manage all the things. Or you might have a dedicated Cisco collaboration engineer. Collaboration engineer is more a dedicated engineer managing the VoIP and the video conferencing applications, more on the Cisco collaboration side. And also you might have a dedicated role like SD-WAN engineer. So if you're working for an SD-WAN company offering the SD-WAN solutions, you will be referred as an dedicated SD-WAN engineer, where you will be specialized in deploying the SD-WAN software-defined networks, or even it can be anything. Okay, so you will find our automation. There might be an automation engineer. That is another role you will fit into. Now, there might be any of these options. Again, some other emerging roles, if you talk about the network automation engineer roles, where you will be mainly responsible for developing the applications or working on the applications or automating the task, day-to-day task of the company by using different platforms. Uh, Cisco have a DevNet certification specifically focused on this, where you will be having programming knowledge and doing that. Or if you're working on the network security side, you might be moving on. You might have a dedicated cyber security specialist who will be responsible for doing majority of the network testing, like penetration testing, threat analysis, or implementing the policies, or testing the network based on the compliance as per the network requirements. Or even there is an IoT network engineer as well, where you will be working on some Internet of Things, where majority of the applications protocols are running on the internet. You will be managing that. So again, the core skill, now these all skills that you don't directly jump into these things, whatever the emerging roles I'm talking about, or whatever, you just go step by step. Okay, you don't directly jump into any of these roles. You might not be able to jump into any of these roles directly, but again, there will be a start for everything. When you start, you will be starting as a network engineer, or the network support engineer, or maybe a system administrator, and you slowly move on to the different specializations depending upon the environment you get, because it totally mainly depends where you exactly go. It totally depends on the environment, because if you're getting an environment to work on the firewalls and see them and manage them, then you probably move more on the network security side. But again, if you're on an environment where you there is a more switching and the routing, and you don't have much of the firewalls, maybe few dedicated security is there, but managed by some other team, and you probably deep dive into the network engineering role. Okay, so it totally depends on the environment. Of course, it also depends on the interest as well. But majority of the times, what is your interest? It doesn't make a much difference, because At the end, whatever is your interest, you need to get working on that real time. Because if you're learning or if you're doing some skills on network security, but you don't get a job on that, and you're working as a system administrator, but at the end, that's where the problem will be. Okay, so everyone want to be on the network security side. Everyone want to become an expert or automation engineer or cyber security engineer. But at the end, it's important that your core skills also should suit that. At the same time, you need to have a strong foundation experience before you jump into the advanced skill set here. Okay, so now you might be falling in any of these categories, like I said, and majority of the roles will be overlapping because as I differentiated, but majority of the job responsibilities, if you search online for any of these headings, you will find you will be doing many things. It's not just one thing. Okay, so if I say a network engineer, dedicated, who is mainly designed on, mainly responsible for designing and implementation of a setup. And then you have a network security engineer where you will be mainly focusing on implementing the network security. But at the end, you have a network security engineer, you will be doing both. So you need to have a network routing switching level knowledge along with some firewall skills uh, and VPN skills, which is again what is more common. Okay. So there is no dedicated role. You might fall into dedicated roles once you gain some high level experience. But when you are a fresher or when you have some 0 to 5 years of experience, if you're averaging in between this, unless you are an expert on any one, it's not possible for you to be a specialist. Like you say, I want to be a cybersecurity specialist or automation specialist, then you need to be an expert in that. You need to be an expert with a good skill set, at the same time, good experience or exposure to those kind of things. Okay, that is what majorly lags. Okay, so these are the roles, and as I said, these will overlap. There will be overlapping as well as the differences. And to figure out the exact requirement, always I recommend you to go and search for specific job roles with your specific location, wherever you are based in, and then see what are the skill set they are exactly looking out for, and what are the certifications they are looking out for, and what is the experience they are looking out for. So probably you need to plan as per that. Okay, so there will be plenty of things they expect. At the end, when you see any job roles or the job responsibilities, you don't need to be an expert in all. Even if your skill set matches anything like around 50%, most likely there are chances that you can attend the interviews and you can clear them. Okay, that is high chances, because when you go for any job profiles, you will find plenty of things mentioned. But at the end, if you are an expert of 50% of the things, and you are around 20 to 20 to 30% of things you know, or you have some idea, then it's easy to clear the interviews, because it's not possible for anyone to be at 100% skills. That's really not possible. Okay, even if someone is having 100% skills, then obviously his demands will be very high, which the companies might not be in a position to accommodate that. Okay, so at the end, you need to find the balance of these things. Okay, so because most of the time when you directly go for any kind of job roles and responsibilities, you will find these things. Many people ask the same thing, you need to know this and all. They expect you to know each and everything in the job profile, but at the end, you don't really do all those things. The more skills you have, the more better they for the company as well. At the same time, they will be finding the balance between the skills and uh, the pay scale, what they can accommodate. Those kind of things at the end you have to manage. Okay, so this is all about the network engineering roles. Again, if you want to deep dive and understand on these roles, just go to any job portal local and search. You will find plenty of details, and try to go through with the individual profiles and try to match your relevant experience and the core skills what you have, and compare them and try to add those skill set as much as you can.